the phase that we live in human society, do you think there's a chance we'll get to see dictatorships again?
You're seeing dictatorships being formed as we speak. They are not dictatorships have moved on, like we discussed. A dictator as we know it is such a late 1800s and 1900s phenomenon. The nature of dictatorship also moves. So I would literally say that the Obama years and the Biden years were a dictatorship of ideas, in a sense. you know Politically correct talk, uh, mass indoctrination and dogmatization, to the point where free speech have become crimes in Germany and Britain, especially Britain of all people, which is considered the mother of free speech and parliamentary tradition and things like that. It's gone down a very, very dark path. And there's this saying that the best of intentions lead the path to hell is paved with good intentions. That's exactly what you see. So a lot of this race baiting today, I mean, it started under Obama, right? Which is what? A white man is fundamentally, a white hetero man is fundamentally evil. He's responsible for all the evil on earth. And every other person of color, especially if you're not a hetero, is a victim. This gets institutionalized. People are made to feel bad about their ethnicity, about their culture, and whatever. And you're actively suppressed and made to feel like shit. It's psychological gaslighting. And then it comes up with, you can't restrict people's constitutional freedoms in America. So what you introduce is cancel culture, where the constitution doesn't throw you in jail, but you destroy people financially, economically, and whatever through this. That is the beginning of that. That's in fact how Hitler became popular. You know, in Weimar Germany, which is after the World War One and till World War Two, um, Hitler and the Nazi Party's ideas were very extreme. People don't realize the amount of lawfare that was used on them and the number of Nazi leaders that were thrown in jail, which went on making them more and more and more and more popular till he wins the 1934 election. Right. And after he wins the election, well, he cancels elections. Right. Uh, but why did it lead up to there? You see that happening even today. People in Europe are labeled far right, right wing, we won't touch you, untouchability essentially. What's happened with AFD, Alternative for Deutschland? Uh, Crazy left wing loonies are okay, but imagine this woman is Alice Weedle, who heads the AFD. She's a lesbian. She has a Sri Lankan partner. Now, all of this would have landed her up in a concentration camp in Germany, being a homosexual, violating the race laws. Uh, but she's a fascist, really? How?
That's all I've heard about the AFD.
Yeah,
If I talk to any of my friends who've lived in Europe over the last 5-10 years, they talk about the AFD as the second coming of the Nazi party.
yeah.
But what's the
It's
truth?
the exact opposite, because you look at the areas where the AFD gets its largest vote shares. They are all traditionally the areas that did not support Hitler in 1934. Right? She's anti immigrant, anti illegal immigration. She is fiscally conservative as much as you can be in Germany. She's not fiscally, she's not American Trump style fiscal conservative. But the center in Germany has moved so far left that they'll say this is right wing Nazi. But remember, Nazi is what? National Socialist. The Nazis were socialists, bro. They weren't right wing at all. They were one. In fact, Germany versus Russia was communists versus socialists.
Hmm.
There was no right wing involved in this. Mussolini was proudly a socialist, right? Um, this whole idea that dictatorships and right wing dictatorships are a threat is a very, very modern left wing way of pushing you a certain way. And remember left wing dictatorships, Stalin and Mao Zedong. Do you know Stalin killed more Russians than the German army ever did? Mao Zedong killed 7 times the number of his fellow Chinese than the Japanese Imperial Army ever did. Right? But why are Hitler and General Tojo the epitome of evil and not Stalin and Mao Zedong? Hmm? This is the sort of gaslighting and bad academia which the left is actually very good at. And they gaslight you into believing certain things. Never believe that. You look, one of the first things that Hitler did was he almost nationalized. I mean, it wasn't nationalized per se, but most of Germany's industry was capitalism did not work. It was all, made subjective to German war needs and the Nazi party's national vision. And everybody had to serve that. They were given quotas, they were told what to do. It was not a free market in operation. Was it racial? Yes. Russia was no less racial, by the way. Stalin hated Jews. Um, there were whole ethnicities that were wiped out under Stalin. There were people who were treated shockingly. The entire Chechen nation was uprooted from the Caucasus and shifted out to Kazakhstan or someplace like that. And it was some 15, 20 years before they were even allowed back into the Caucasus, right? Same thing that Mao Zedong did. Whole communities wiped out. So, we tend to get attracted to this sort of leftist nomenclature because life is messy. And the left brings this sort of scientific methodology. They want you to pretend that, there is this scientific way of explaining everything and anything, which humans seek order in everything. So once you can explain it off as an ordered structure, you get very attracted to it. You invent all the language around it. It becomes the basis of all the way you think. They're very good at that.